I will be recording this. All right, so if you're joining today, you are here because you want to learn how you can empower educators with the Modern Classrooms Project free course. So I am Kareem Fair. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Modern Classrooms Project. And the goal today is to really ensure that you're very clear on how you can actually share our free course out and get folks learning and experimenting with our model. So our agenda is really to ensure that you can answer the following questions by the end of today's session. The first is, what does the free course actually have to offer? Some of you all probably know this, so I promise I won't spend too much time on it, but it's really understanding the differentiation between the free course and the other ways that folks access our resources. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about why you would share the free course. And this is not as obvious as people may think. Sometimes folks just assume that you would share the free course because it's cool and exciting, and that there's like a simple way to do it. But there's actually real reasons why you should share the free course, especially if you're thinking about scaling the model over time. The next question we'll address is, what are actually the most effective ways to do this? What are the ways where you're going to get the highest levels of teacher engagement, the highest levels of innovation? And then finally, where do you go if you actually have questions moving forward? And I promise we're going to have at least 30 minutes at the end for questions. Use the Q&A function as questions come up, and feel free to ask them, and I'll answer them at the end. If you know anything about the Modern Classroom Project, it's that I don't like to talk for too long. So I'm going to try to make this brief, efficient, and effective. And again, at the end of the session, you'll also see a link that allows you to access the slide deck. So let's first talk about just like why this is such an awesome time to be thinking about this innovative work. Well, first of all, what do we actually know at the moment? Well, the first thing we know is that teachers will be serving students with a greater diversity of academic and social emotional needs than ever before. This is just the consequence of the pandemic. Students have been at a very broad diversity of learning levels and social emotional needs forever, but that gap has really been widened. So we know that we have to be thinking hard about differentiation this year and beyond. But what we also know is in the last 12 months, 18 months or so, educators have been leveraging education technologies in really interesting ways. Our teaching force has never been this fluent with education technology, which means it's a perfect time to start thinking about how we can empower educators with instructional models that actually allow them to leverage these new skill sets to build equitable classrooms and to build responsive classrooms. This is really exciting, right? It's a moment in time where we can actually capitalize on all the learning that's happened in the last 12 to 18 months and use it to really think about how teaching and learning can transform moving forward. And we want to really be able to provide folks with a blueprint for how to make this happen. It's one thing to be really great at different tech tools. You may know how to build a screencast, you may know how to use your learning management system effectively, you may know how to use Kahoot really well, but actually turning that into an instructional model that's more equitable, that leverages self-pacing, that gets us closer to the mastery-based grading, that's a different ballgame. And educators need some structure and a blueprint to get there. So I want to talk a little bit about our perspective at the organization and my personal perspective on teacher PD before we actually dig into this, because it'll inform the way we think about professional learning and why we've built a self-paced asynchronous free course. So where PD often falls short? Well, first, it doesn't actually model what we expect from our educators. So what you will see in our free course and the way we think about pushing it out is this idea that we want the learning environment for teachers to look a lot like what we're expecting for our students. The second piece, it often doesn't differentiate to educators' diversity of needs. So often we're seeing folks go to PDs that are one size fits all. Lots of educators bored, lots of educators confused and overwhelmed, not a lot of educators deeply engaged. And then finally, too much theory, not enough action, which you'll find in our course materials is always trying to give educators real tools that oftentimes they can just make a copy of, make it their own, and leverage in the classrooms. So what do we support? From the PD perspective, we want folks to have choice, we want folks to have time, we want folks to have deliverable goals. They're going into the PD process and the learning process with these three elements coming to life quite clearly. So really quickly, the model itself, I don't want to waste most folks' time, because if you're here, you probably know our model pretty well. But just that brief overview is this idea that first we're blending instruction, but we're unique because we believe that teachers are actually the creators of the blending of instruction. They're building their instructional videos. And the goal here is to eliminate live lectures. Those elements of time, those moments in time where we're actually stopping educators from really being able to spend time in one-on-one and small group sessions with students. And we're also wasting student time because they're lost, confused, or bored during the live lecture. From there, you get that self-pacing to come to life. Now you're getting kids in really different spots. You're starting to see true differentiation. I've always said you can't really differentiate instruction if you're not letting kids be at different spots within a lesson or a unit. And then finally, we get to that final frontier, mastery-based grading, where students are not progressing based on day of the week, completion, partial credit. They're going from different lessons because they've actually mastered skills. Probably know this model already, so I'm going to stop there on explaining it. If you don't know it already, the free course is a good place to go. So what does our free course have to offer? Well, what you should understand about our free course is it literally has all of our content. I mean that. So if you're wondering like what's in the mentorship program is all about supporting educators through feedback and discussion and actually creating assignments and getting them reviewed. But when it comes to actually being able to access the information, the resources, the tutorials, it's all there in the free course. It has all of our content. And in particular, this is a nice little roadmap of what educators are learning when they travel to the free course. So you start with a little welcome, get used to the model, what it's all about, and also see it through the lens of a student. You're going to dig into blended instruction, where you're actually starting to build those instructional videos. You're going to dig into self-pacing, which a real focus on that progress tracking, collaboration, motivation. You're going to dig into mastery-based grading and think efficiently and effectively about how you can run a mastery-based grading classroom. The newer module, by the way, if you have not done the free course in some time, is the learning design module, which talks about LMS, but also physical space. Now that we're most likely going back into school buildings and actually going to be in person, you're going to see kind of examples of what an actual physical classroom should look like. And then some preparing for a launch resources, which by the way, is oftentimes the unit or the module in our free course that people forget about, but has really valuable resources in thinking about actually getting this going in the classroom. So that kind of gives you the free course roadmap. Let's talk a little bit about why you share out the free course. And I've really designed this slide to think through effective uses and ineffective uses of sharing out the free course. So let's talk first about effective uses. What we want to do is inspire educators to think innovatively about teaching and learning. And I use that word inspire delicately because what we don't want to do is require educators to implement, especially through the free course. The free course is designed to basically provide educators with some cool, innovative ways to think differently about teaching and learning through a very innovative model. But if you pivot into this whole idea of requiring, A, you're not giving your educators enough support, and B, you're going to start creating tension and frustration around the model, which you don't want to do. So think about inspiring folks, not requiring folks. Now, you can require folks to take the free course, but requiring implementation is a whole nother leap. The second beast is really trying to determine educator interest. That is another key element of this exercise. You want to get a feel for your teaching staff and whether or not they're actually interested in blended self-paced, mastery-based learning. That's very different than just expecting every educator to say, oh, I want to do this. That's unlikely to be the case in a school or district community. Your goal here is to really think about how you can get folks to be interested and then grow that interest over time. The more people that engage with the course, the more folks that engage with the model, the more likely you are to see growing interest and then start to hit a critical mass. And then finally, you want to prepare educators for more robust trainings. Now, in our case, our more robust training is the virtual mentorship program. In some cases, schools or districts will leverage PLC structures and all that good stuff. But treat the free course as preparation for more robust training. Don't treat it as a replacement for that. You cannot expect high levels of implementation and a lot of change in classrooms exclusively off a free course. You expect to inspire, you expect to evaluate interest, you expect folks to prepare for more rigorous training, but don't think that you can just push out this free course and suddenly you're going to see implementers across your district at a high scale. Now, I do want to share a little bit about feedback, because as I say that, we've also seen some incredible implementation from the free course. We've seen folks completely transform their classrooms, become distinguished modern classroom educators, become mentors all through the free course. And we hear really interesting feedback. We hear things like a high school math teacher talking about that deeper student understanding and capacity to really leverage powerful skills from a pedagogical standpoint. We also hear folks talk about how much data they're suddenly using, true data-driven instruction, having time for targeted instructional decisions using that data. An elementary teacher talking about how they're seeing students really be in the driver's seat, problem solving, guiding others, and in this case, they're learning in multiple languages. And then oftentimes, folks will literally just say, test scores are going up in my classroom, kids are learning more, and that's really powerful. I do want to speak a little bit to the free course completion certificate, and this is something that can be really powerful, especially if you've never actually made it to the full end and clicked all the buttons through. You may not realize that when you complete the free course, you will receive a certificate of completion. It looks just like this. Now, the reason why this is valuable as you're thinking about scale, as you're thinking about pushing this course out to a lot of educators, as many schools and districts who share our free course at scale ask for evidence of completion to offer PD credits for this work. So you might be saying, hey, you guys get this amount of time during your PD day on Thursday to go through the free course, and we're going to ask you for evidence that you've actually done it by showing us the certificate of completion. This is an auto-generated certificate that you get by email after you complete the course. Now, I do want to spend a little bit of time distinguishing between the free course and the virtual mentorship program, because this then helps you understand what is the free course for? What do I get with the virtual mentorship program? The free course, as I mentioned, is access to content and tutorials. What you're not getting in the free course is any assignments. There's no expectation that teachers are going to submit anything. You're not getting feedback and coaching. There's not someone else on the back end who's engaging in the individualized experience that you're having in the free course. There's no certified credentials. We don't have any credentials baked into it. So it really is a place to do a self-paced learning journey to get exposure to our model. And in some cases, folks will actually implement fully afterwards. The virtual mentorship program takes it to the next level, right? That's where you're getting feedback on submitted assignments. That's where you're getting one-on-one coaching. That's where you have an actual person who does the model assigned to you to support and give you that coaching along the way, and a bunch of certified credentials, micro credentials, graduate credits, both non-degree and degree, as well as internal credentials that we've created as well. So just understanding that distinction is important when you think about pushing out the free course. Again, the free course is about inspiring. It's about determining interest. It's about preparing for folks for more robust training. It isn't a replacement to things like the virtual mentorship program or another robust training system you might create in your district. So how to share the free course out with your educators? Now, I mean, this is in some ways intuitive, but we want to give you all a very clear structure for how you can make this happen. So when you think about sharing the free course with your educators, we think about two best practices. The first is spread the word, give choice. This is just literally saying we want to let every teacher out there know what the free course is so that they can share it, they can use it, they can leverage it, they can learn it, and they can go back to it when they're struggling. If they really want to start leveraging instructional videos, they can go back to it, figure that out, and leverage it in their own classroom. The second best practice, my favorite one, the one where we see some really amazing results with some of our biggest district partners, is to actually carve out professional learning time. Give educators dedicated time in their professional learning experiences to actually complete the course. This is where you're going to see the highest likelihood of success as well. So let's dig into these best practices and explain a little bit about how they're different. So spread the word and give choice. So in this case, you really are just, the goal is to make sure that everyone knows about the course. That's the goal here. So how do you actually make this happen? Well, there's a few ways to do this. First, send an email out to all your educators. This is the easiest and smoothest way. And in a moment, I'll kind of show you where you can get some sample language to push out. You want to show that Edutopia video at a faculty meeting and direct teachers to our free course. If you don't know this already, we're actually going to have an elementary Edutopia video coming out in the fall. So you're going to have kind of two options to show as well. And post a blurb or link in the free course to the free course in your LMS or school or district website. This is really, really popular. If you are at a school or district where folks go to some sort of digital home base as educators to access new updates and resources, just indicating there that that's a good place to go if you're interested in learning these skills is a fabulous way to do it. Maybe even linking the Edutopia video or embedding it there as well. Now, one of our bigger district partners, Robbinsdale Area Schools, right? The director of secondary curriculum instruction did just that. He kind of developed a slide deck that was influenced by our website. He pushed it out. He encouraged educators to join. And next thing you know, over 500 teachers from this district were learning in our free course. And then you start to see implementation pop up just through the free course. And now we have a strong relationship and partnership with Robbinsdale Area Schools, but they started in the first year of implementation just by pushing the free course out at scale. The second best practice, which is really popular and really effective, is making sure that teachers have actual time to execute this. Now, the steps you take are somewhat similar. You're definitely going to want to leverage a faculty meeting slide deck that we, again, have samples of, and I'll show you how you can access them. So you actually direct teachers to our free course so they're able to access this in a really simple and powerful way. You also should carve out about 3 to 5 hours of PD time for your educators. This was maybe a half day of professional. It might be a PD day that you have in the middle of the school year where you say, look, if you would like to do the Modern Classrooms free course, you can. It's going to take you 3 to 5 hours. And this is a really good example of a time where you would actually say, hey, and show me your certificate of completion at the end so I'm aware that you've actually done it. We'll also mention in a slide or two about the different ways that we can support with data tracking. So if you really plan to push this out at scale, how we can help you identify who has and has not done the free course. The last piece is it's a good time to also leverage our PLC resources. We do have free PLC resources. You can use it anytime. It allows you to kind of push out the free course, couple it with discussions, bring folks together to meet and chat about module 1, break off, and then they go do module 2, create a nice structure there. You know, one of the best pieces to read about pushing out the free course at scale and seeing real change is this piece called 7 Steps Towards School-Wide Implementation. It was published by Joy Patton, an instructional coach out in Tennessee, who supported her teachers in learning the model through the free course. And what she talks about in this article is those 7 steps she used, one of which is giving folks time, appreciating the fact that if we really want to see transformational change in classrooms, you got to give folks ample time to be able to actually dig in. You just throw a free course at them, but don't give them time, the likelihood they're actually going to engage and then make the leap to implementation is pretty low. I want to talk a little bit about some customization and progress tracking elements that we can provide. Now, we can provide these, but it's kind of in a limited way. It depends on the size of the district and the community. But the first option is a simple one. We can create affiliate links. So instead of folks just going to our free course by going to learn.modernclassrooms.org, we can give you a unique link. Now, that unique link is going to take them to the same free course, but what it allows us to do is actually track who is joining the free course from your school or district community. Or you can just say, hey, teachers, please use your school email, in which case you can email us and say, hey, can you let me know how many educators with the following domain have gone through the free course? And we can support you through that process very easily. So that's one way we can just support you with progress tracking. The other option is our custom courses. Now, the purpose of this is essentially to replicate our free course, but clean it of any resources that don't pertain to what you use at your school or district. So if you're a Canvas school or district and you don't want educators seeing tutorials on Google Classroom or Google Sites, then we can create a custom course just for educators in your district. We can name it that as well, and it will be cleaned of any tech tools and resources you don't want them to have access to tutorials for. You know, we have some districts, for example, exclusively use Edpuzzle and don't want tutorials on PlayPosit or the reverse, or they're using Screencastify, they don't want tutorials on Screencast-O-Matic. Totally fine, and we can clean the course of the non-important resources to your teachers, and that works just fine. The key with that second option on custom courses, because of our capacity to offer these options is limited, we can only provide these if you can articulate how you're really going to push that course out at scale. This first option can happen for anyone, but the one down here is really all about making sure that we create a structure so that this is getting out to a lot of teachers, because it does take work on our end to actually create those custom courses. Now, the most important thing to understand about all this is you actually have a guide that can help you get there. And we've created a free course guide. This free course guide is designed for you, people on this call, to leverage as you think about scaling this out and pushing this out to your teachers. The free course guide has a few things in there. It details out our 2 best practices, which is the spread the word and give choice and carve out professional learning time. But in addition to that, we also have resources to help you get started. That includes faculty meeting slide decks. That includes sample email language. That includes PLC resources. So actually giving you the tools and resources you need to get this course out. I'm going to show you what this course guide looks like. If you just go to our website, this is a free course page on our website. When you navigate the top here and you just click free online course, you scroll down, you're going to see a link that takes you to our free course guide. This is actually brand new. We've also have a live Google Doc that does this. This free course guide link just provides all the details on how you can execute best practice number 1 and best practice number 2. So when I'm in here and I say, look, the first thing I want to do is email my teachers, I just click on that sample email language and it's going to take me to a live Google Doc where you can just copy and paste or make a copy of sample email language that you can push out to your teachers, or language you can leverage in your learning management system, like little blurbs for newsletters and all that good stuff. And you see similar resources like the one I just showed you for all the other stuff I mentioned. So there's the faculty meeting slide decks. We have our PLC resources. We have an example of the certificate of completion. So this guide is really, really valuable as you think about pushing this out at scale. I promise I'm almost done. As I said, I never, ever want to talk for too long because it's just too disengaging. So I put the link at the bottom here, which is modernclassrooms.org/free-course.guide. So that's where you can access that. Please use that link. And again, another link's going to pop up with all these slides so you can leverage it. But this is a really powerful way to get this going. All right. So final thoughts and next steps. First things first, just go to the free course guide, check it out, see what ideas work for you. The second thing is if you want to leverage these slides right here, just go to tinyurl.com/MCP free course webinar. This will also go out in an email to you as well shortly after to everyone who signed up and any participants. Additionally, like if you're sitting here and you're thinking, cool, I want to push this free course out, but then I also want to set educators up for success with the mentorship program, feel free to fill out the partnership interest form or just email us. And you can email us at partnerships@modernclassrooms.org, both with questions about actual formal partnerships, the mentorship program, but also questions about custom course links, about really pushing this out at scale and all that good stuff. So don't hesitate to send an email to partnerships@modernclassrooms.org. We'll either send you the resources you need, or we might even schedule a call if it makes sense to think about a partnership or think about how we can get you started with some of those more custom progress tracking elements if you're trying to get a bunch of teachers in the free course. Now, just so folks know, right, there's almost 30,000, 29,000 educators in the free course as we speak, and a number of districts, not a small number of districts and schools that have pushed it out at scale, meaning all their teachers have traveled through it. And it's one of the most powerful ways to inspire really cool innovation throughout the district or the school. So I'm going to stop there. That's all I have. Keeping it short and sweet. Now I'm going to wait because I got to practice my wait time to see if there's any quick questions that folks have. If you have questions, just drop them in the Q&A. And if you do not, I'll close this thing out and we'll make sure to get you these resources as well. I'm opening up the Q&A in a moment. And if you want to drop the questions as well in the chat, feel free to do that. Going once. Going twice. All right. So I am going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to end the webinar in a moment. Hopefully this was useful, folks. Thank you all for jumping in today, and I will make sure to get these resources to you, and hopefully we'll see a bunch of your teachers joining the free course. Bye, everyone.